Looks like you're ready.
Looks like.
Yeah.
Am I on? Yes. Okay.
Yeah. I had a really nice discussion over lunch with some former colleagues of mine. They were asking me like, hey, there are so many extensions around in Postgres. Is it really easy to mess up your database with it? It's like, well, you have a good point. You can. So now I'm extra curious about your talk.
Okay, we'll see.
Have fun.
Okay, thanks. Hello. Also, yeah, thank you. Okay. Also, hello to the stream, wherever it is. This was a talk I did 3 years ago as a 45-minute talk. So they asked me to do it in 25. So I have to do it twice as fast. So I'm talking about extensions. My name is Dirk. I'm a solution architect with Ivan for almost 2 years now. I have on my plate about 18 years, databases. I have a dark history in Oracle. You will recognize it a bit. I was a DBA, I was a trainer, I was a consultant, and I was a sales engineer at EDB, and now I'm a solution architect. Several roles, several names, but all was always about databases. Some private stuff if you need an icebreaker outside, but don't have time. Important note, you know, I'm living right after the border to the, what is that, Highlands? I don't know, Germany. And I'm organizing the Postgres user group North Rhine-Westphalia, and we are switching cities every time. So could be that maybe there will be someone from the Netherlands also coming over the border. We did once in Aachen. So we had Belgian and Dutch people also there. So just keep in mind, next one is in Dortmund. Short disclaimer, you know, I'm talking about extensions, and I also will show how to write extensions for your own. But I'm not a developer, so bear with me. You know, it's just an example, just to give you an easy start to doing this. I'm just usually a desperate database guy, like most of you maybe. And yeah, that's it. The idea of extensions, I think everyone will know, it's having just the basic functionality in Postgres, and everything else we want to extend to keep the database kind of small and not so overloaded. And to make this, we have a standardized interface. And we want to make sure that creating extensions is open and easy, so that you don't have to care of much things to start with. So I will show you how easy it is later then. The motivation is actually, you know, I came a little bit from the Oracle world, and even when I see that extensions are a huge benefit, it's sometimes also one of the most pain points for a lot of customers and individuals out there, starting with Postgres, because they are missing stuff out of the box. And then you have to teach them, okay, that is on purpose. So Postgres wants to be slightly and easy, and then lightweight and easy, and then you add your functionalities like as you wish, right? And then you have only the functionality you really need. So that is, for me, it's a good thing, right? But you have to make this clear, right? So the real motivation is the argument. What I always bring up is I just did for fun install on the same machine several databases like MySQL, MariaDB, MS SQL Server. Yes, MS SQL Server on Linux. That is a thing. And also Postgres in several stages. Even Postgres 17, it was with some extensions, right? You see? And now guess, if you want to have this argument, right, what the missing numbers are. Any short guess? Yeah, you know, it's way more. And to be honest, I was fair. I just emptied the patch storage cache, you know, all the garbage lying around. So still, it is very fast. And these are, you know, this 6.1 gigabyte. That is an empty database. So it's just creating an instance with an empty database. So you have to altogether about 13 gigabytes without having any data in the database, any your workload data. Yeah, no, you can argument about that. Oracle brings a lot of features, a lot of functionality in there, but still, you know, that's way too much, right? But I talked to a product manager, and they are working on this. So that is 21.5. I think that's the last supported release. I have a 23 AI unofficially lying around somewhere. I will test it. Let's see. So what can you do with extensions? You know, everything, right? It's really fun. You can start with data types, like just packaging SQL scripts or everything what you want to do. You can create the extensions based on any language you want. You can create languages, programming language in an extension like PL, PG, SQL, and then you can use this language to create another extension. Think about that, right? So it's really weird. So everything is possible. It's really amazing. So extensions are really cool. But of course, there are things to discuss. Let's see if we can make it in this time. Where do we get all this extensions? So there are several sources, right? Everyone knows maybe the contrib package, which is maybe a good thing because that is a huge set of Postgres extensions maintained by the community, getting out every release. So if you want to have a healthy set of extensions, you can just install this and you are good to go. That is also supported by the community, so that's fine. There's also this Postgres extension network, which I was thinking about not to be alive anymore, but I got slapped by Floor that David Wheeler is doing a lot of work on this. So that is also still an existing thing. And of course, you can get it everywhere else. You can find it, you can Google it, and so on. The contrib, it's about, I don't know if it's the right number, it's, 3 years ago. In the past, it was about 49 extensions being there. Could be more or less, it's around this, right? So you can just install it with the Postgres repository. Then again, this Postgres extension network, which is still alive, and they are maintaining at the moment about 430 extensions. They are listed there kind of as a repository. You have also kind of a little command line client that you can install and update it if you want. So I didn't test, to be honest, the actual version of this, but it worked when I gave this talk back then 3 years ago. So at least, it's worth to have a look. And even when you just want to have some, let's say, established extensions, so we can have a look here. Yeah, and of course, installation over the usual repositories and so on. You can always self-compiling it if you get it from GitHub. For Windows users, it doesn't look so well. So extensions is one of the pain points if you have customers with Windows. I had this discussion. So customers were asking, we are using Postgres on Windows, why ever? And then they asked for this extension, and that was a problem. So I had no good answer to this, so shit happens. Cloud, that is also kind of a difficult story. Of course, when you're having infrastructure as a service and install Postgres for your own, you can do whatever you want. The same with all extensions. But most of the customers out there are using DBaaS. They are always depending on what the cloud vendors are offering, right? So like AWS or Google Cloud SQL, you have to check what kind of extensions are available. Also Ivan, I'm working for Ivan. We have also kind of 73 extensions available. Most of the hyperscalers and we have at least the contrib extensions being available and a little bit more. So we have to check. You can discuss, of course. You can try to ask AWS if you want to add an extension. Good luck. With Ivan, you can talk. So where are the extensions when you have it looking on your server? Like there are two important folders, share extension and lib. So here you can see there's the lib folder where the compiled versions of the extensions you will find. Here in this case, the pg statement, just an example. And then is the extension folder where you can find the control file and the related SQL script. So if you have a SQL-only extension without any code, any compiled stuff, then you only have to look at the share extension folder. That's it. So there you will find everything. I will show it a little bit later when on a live system, so you can see that I'm not talking garbage here. So you have always the components of extensions. They're starting everything with a control file. So you're creating a control file with some metadata about the extension. Can you use a version, the comment, and some parameters like if it's a trusted extension, if you want to make it possible to activate as a non-super user, things like that, right? You can look up in the documentation, whatever you can configure there. So that is essential that you have at least this control file. And then an easy example is having just a SQL script. So you don't need to write actual compiled code or something like this. You can start with a SQL script like this. That is basically just giving me some text back. In this case, what you see, what I need right now. And then you, of course, that is an easy example. You can start with this. But you can also write something, compiling it. And then the Postgres community brought kind of an interface, kind of a package with the developer package. And I'm not even sure if you still need the Postgres developer package right now with this, but then you have this so-called this PGXS. It's kind of a building interface where you get everything what you need to create kind of a make file, write some C code, and just make it, compile it, and install it quite easily on your local Postgres instance. And the only thing what you need to make sure is that all paths are set correctly and pgconfig is somehow available in the right environment. I will show you later. That's way easy to start, right? So it's also good documented. There are a lot of parameters you can use in the make file, so it's not a problem to start. Even with me not being a daily developer, right? I learned C back then in my so many years ago in my study time, and Java. So it's I was able to make. So and then of course you can start with an easy C file, right? I'm not a developer. I'm just adapting this. I don't want to go into detail what everything of this means, but this is an easy example just to get the same like the SQL statement, just to get out some text like a hello world, right? So and the SQL script stays, but just referring to the related C extension, then the C code and the compiled version. So that's it. At that point, I will show you this. If I think we're good in the time. I like to do demos. So you will see what I have here is kind of a Postgres instance. Yeah, it's 18. I'm testing, And as you can see, I will just starting here. At the moment, I have in the extension folder of my installation folder just only the default ones, like PL, PGSQL, right? And nothing more. And what I have done is I prepared the just the examples, like the SQL example and the C example. So if you look here, SQL extension, that's basically what you have seen in the slides. So it's not nothing what I changed, it's just prepared, right? So what I can easily do, at the moment, you can look with select star from PG available extensions. It's still only the PL PGSQL. So now I'm just copying the two files, the control file and the SQL file, to the relevant folder. And you can see that it's actually what I did, right? So, and it's immediately available, right? So now you see Dirk's extension, which is the SQL version, right? So now you can just activate or install the extension in this database where you're logged in. Create extension, Dirk's extension. So that's it. And then I should have, I'm lazy. Let me just find this. So now I get my, what the text getting out, easy, right? Now you can build everything you want. So you just have to use this framework or this pattern to start with. So it's an easy start for SQL only, right? And it's always good to need a beer, right? So again, now I have also done it with easy C, right? So, and thanks for Tomasz. He taught me this actually. That is really cool in Prague. So just having a quick start with C code, writing an extension with C code. So basically what you see here is also what you have seen in the slides, right? It's not like something different. It's exactly the same. It's just giving a string back, right? So now I have also created the make file here, also like in the slides. So with the usual stuff, just make sure that the PG config is available. So like this, if that will work, then you are fine, right? So just give all your information you need. So then I can just compile it. Bam. So now it's compiled. Then you now see all this compiled code, right? And you don't need to copy it right now because you can just use the framework and do make install, and you are good to go. Right now, when everything is working fine, you see also the C extension, right, which is, of course, nothing really useful, but I can create the extension and also, where is it? No, still need to be with C, right? So that's basically the same, but as compiled version, ready to go. So that's basically it, right? So it's pretty easy to have a start and implement something yourself. I'm having no idea right now what I want to build, but I know how to, right? So now I have to find any cool feature, cool solution, or cool anything to continue working on this and creating an own extension, no matter if you want to do it with SQL or with C or with any language you want to use, right? It depends. The framework is basically optimized or generated for C code. So if you want to start with other languages, you have to take care about the whole build management and for your own. But that's basically it. So that is implementation. So I was really proud of myself doing this, right? After 18 years writing C again, feeling like a hacker, right? No, just kidding. So, okay. That's basically what I have shown you just in the slides when the demo will fuck up. So you have seen this. You can also drop an extension, of course. Sometimes extension also need bring in some parameters with or without cluster restart. So that could you also have in mind. The classical one is pgstart statements. If you didn't install it per default and before you start with your production environment, then you have to change that and have to restart your cluster. A common mistake, right? You can even alter extensions, adding some views. There are some operations possible with extension as well. And updating is also kind of just update to and blah, blah, blah. Alter extension, update to, and then you can just update the version of your running extension. So if you need to update it all the time. So also I've shown this, I usually prefer the select from PG available extensions because it gives you way more information, but with the /dx, you get at least every extension which is installed, right? So it's more easy, more common if you want to have a fast shortcut on this. Okay, now about the challenges. So that was the main part of my talk back then, because, starting with extension, having extension available is pretty easy and it's a benefit. But of course, if you want to introduce extensions in a production environment, what is about the problems, or what is about how you explain a customer you can do this, but you need this extension and that extension, and the customer is thinking about why I started with Postgres. I need now new components, right? New software modules whatsoever, and that is a discussion I always have to do. And it has to go about the change management, and it has a lot of discussions. And what is about the restart of the database when you're adding extensions? That is actually a pain point. So how to solve that? Start immediately and find out what extension you need in the beginning when you start working with a customer or with a production environment, right? Then, of course, there's always this discussion. Customers want to have an all-in-one solution like Oracle. Then you have this large Oracle home, right? But the problem is that not everyone gets the point about having this tailored solution. They just want to have everything out of the box. That's not only a problem about extension, it's also a problem about the backup and recovery solutions and high availability solutions like Patroni. So that's the same discussion, right? Why is Postgres not ready to go immediately? Why do I have to add this and this? And then for Patroni, I need etcd, right? So the same discussion everywhere. So you have to convince customers or prospects in this quite early, right? That is, but you have to bring up the arguments like that you're more flexible, it's really lightweight, and you have, at the end, you have a tailored solution. So you have the features you need and not 100 features where you only need 10 of those, right? So that is a real big benefit, in my opinion. What also is important, like I mentioned before, not every extension is like surviving for always. So maybe if you find a cool extension which sounds great in the first place, and then someone stops working on this. So that's then a problem. You have to make sure that an extension is maintained properly, or even make sure that that someone will take care of this later, or maybe you will do this when you're writing the code or when to take over. But that is the power of open source, but also kind of a problem. So, but you can easily find out. If you can look in the GitHub in the activities. But I'm always doing like, okay, when I see there's a lot of going on and the commits and so on, then I know, okay, someone is or a lot of people are working on this, so that's fine, right? So you have to trust. So, but it's not always the case. But you can find out, only can you make sure, right? And you can always jump on this and develop your own. And what is about support? If this section, it's good maintained. I want to bring it up in my production. What's about support? Who guarantees me that if there's a bug, who fixes, right? Of course, there are some vendors like the usual suspects out there having kind of troubleshooting or even code fix support for some extensions, which is nice. But you have to make sure that this is the case before you start with this. If you need an extension with a specific SLA, then you want to make sure that someone is taking care of this. Of course, there's a community support. You can always ask, right? But SLA is a thing that cannot be enough if you want to have at least in the next day having an answer on this. So my conclusion is, I think I'm good in time. Extensions are powerful. I think we are all on the same page on that, and often essential, right? There's always a never-ending story about having extensions per default. The classical PG stat statement discussion we have, right? The initial implementation of statements of extensions are simple. You can have an easy start, like I showed you basically in a few minutes, right? And you have many sources. And I'm looking forward to see more like this PG extension network, to have kind of a proper repository that also gives more trust into extensions for customers, like having a collection of extensions where you are thinking about, okay, these extensions are established, many people are using this and exchanging stuff and so on. That's good. And make sure that if you start a production environment, that you discuss the set of extensions in the first place, not later, because if you have a problem and you need PG stat statements or whatsoever, then it's always too late, right? And what I always do is kind of I have my own set, like my selection, what I always recommend, right, out of the contrib, maybe for instance, PG stat statements, there's a few others, what I always install per default, right? Even when I have the chance to select, then I do this. Yeah, that was, I hope, not too fast. You can ask some questions. If not, I'm outside. You can go to the Ivan booth or somewhere where you find me, probably somewhere where we have beer. And thank you very much. And shoot.
All right. I already see 2 questions.
Thank you for the talk. I have a question about the stability of the extension API on the Postgres side. Like, since it was introduced in Postgres 13, has it been somewhat stable, or is that like is there a lot of churn in that? Do you know?
What do you mean with stability in this case?
The methods that you use to interact with the database.
I had no issues so far. So can anyone jump on it? I don't have any experience with bad stability in extensions at all, right? So, it depends on the specific extension, of course. You can also write a shitty extension, right? If you write a hello world, you can do way more bad stuff, right? But that you can check for your own, right?
Yeah. Sorry, I mean, I'll talk to you offline.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks for the talk. My question about the Postgres observability. So while the extension framework is really good, but you're still limited by hooks and the predefined points where you can extend the Postgres. And when you try to develop something that help you to extend the observability of Postgres, you're really limited by the existing points. And even the PGStat statements that you mentioned, it's still outside of the core. Do you think this should be some movement that extend observability in Postgres, at least move PGStat statements to the core and something for like PGWet sampling to the core or something like that? Otherwise, because I mean, observed a couple of installations of Postgres when the people just fly blind because nobody told them to install in these extensions, and and if you move it to a core, you can achieve the goal with a way less of a overhead than the extensions give. Even if just statements have visible observable effect like 5% sometimes.
When it's up to me, I would say yes, but it's not up to me. There are other people maybe in this room you can discuss with this. And yeah, that is, I get this question every time. So, there's a huge discussion about a few parts having this also in core, but I don't get it. Why? Not everything, right? But speech start statement is the one famous example. I don't almost know anyone who doesn't want this in the core, right? So at least this.
Okay, historical reasons, right?
Yeah, it's essential, right? That is what I mean with some extensions are basically essential, and it should be in the core. At least being ready to get activated, right? That you don't have to restart the cluster after this. That is the biggest thing, I guess.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for a great talk. Very quick question. What sort of monster spells make file with a lowercase m?
Sorry, the last one.
What sort of monster spells make file with a lowercase m?
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
That is why I brought up this. I'm not a developer, right? Nerd.
All right, very last question.
This is another question that's longer than the answer, probably.
Always.
One use case of extensions is to hold the application code, which is server-side. So you have your application with the release version, and also the server-side part is an extension with the same name and the same version number. However, to install an extension, you need access to the file system of the server, which is not good for installing an application. Do you think it would be good to have a possibility to have extensions that don't require files to be pushed to the server, but they can be installed in some other ways?
That's a good one. It depends. Yeah, I don't know. It could be dangerous, right? So how much would you allow without having the access to the file system, right? So maybe I could imagine if you want just do something with SQL, like the first example, I think that could be fine. But if you start forcing like actual C code to the server without any, I don't know. I saw bad things. So let's see that.
All right, we're running out of time. Dirk, thank you very much for your contribution.